first at each other, then, quote, looking at us like it was an episode of Punk'd with Ashton Kutcher, his teammate Kyle Martino put it. But it wasn't a joke. The common perception in Europe may have been that the Galaxy was the Manchester United of MLS, the gold-plated backer of David Beckham's $250 million contract. But the reality was that the team stayed in the same depressing road hotels as every other MLS outfit. Most league hotels were the equivalent of Soviet-era toilet paper, the topic of shared misery wisecracks among the players. But Beckham and Xavier did not appreciate being the source of unintentional comedy. The final straw was the Sheraton Braintree's pregame meal, which was, no lie, plates of greasy fried chicken. "This is not correct!" Xavier bellowed, his righteous anger threatening to explode the bleach blonde hair right off the top of his head. Before he joined the Galaxy, Beckham had said all the right things about needing to adapt to the quirks of MLS. "Things in the US will definitely be different," he told me. "It might even be frustrating at times, but that's part of why I'm going over there, to experience it and to enjoy it." I have a terrible British accent. Now that Beckham was experiencing his first Galaxy road trip, however, there were several aspects of MLS life that he did not enjoy at all. Leaving aside the skill level of his teammates, the travel accommodations were, as Beckham would privately tell associates, shocking. At the Doubletree in Crystal City, a concrete jungle with dreary hotels near Washington's National Airport, some joker had pulled the fire alarm during the players' game day nap, forcing Beckham and his teammates to spend 20 minutes standing in the 100-degree sun. And so far, Beckham had visited only 3 MLS cities. Every player had horror stories of MLS road hotels. Martino told one about the time in Chicago when the hotel burned the marinara sauce for the pregame pasta meal. "It tasted like charcoal," he said, "so no one could eat. It was that bad." For his part, Donovan recalled a time in 2003 when his San Jose Earthquakes stayed at the MLS Hotel in Carson, California before a game against the Galaxy. Quote, "The night before, there had been a fatal shooting in the parking lot of the hotel," Donovan said. "We were just like, come on, you at least want to be safe." With the worlds of European and American soccer colliding head-on, the frustrations of Beckham and Xavier came to a head at the Sheraton Braintreee. As they fumed over the fried chicken, a players' protest was taking shape with the almost lethal instigation of the long-suffering American players. Beckham couldn't change the fact that the following week's league game would be played on artificial turf in Giant Stadium. But he might have an impact on the Galaxy's accommodations. The team had plans to stay at the MLS Hotel in Secaucus, New Jersey, a town best known as the place where mobsters dumped dead bodies in The Sopranos. If so many others were cashing in on the Beckham experiment, Beckham and his teammates reasoned, the least the Galaxy could do was to put them up at a nice hotel in Manhattan. And so, after a long discussion with Beckham and about the team's concerns, Donovan and Xavier wrote down a wish list of things the players would have in an ideal world, including better hotels and meals on the road. They gave it to Coach Frank Gallup, who passed it up the ladder to Alexi Wallace. So we're going to move about a week and a half later here, and Beckham's just made this ridiculous free kick goal, scored one in his first start with the Galaxy, and all is right with the world, and this was the most viewed clip on YouTube in the world the next day. And we went to the airport, this was the first commercial flight from LAX involving Beckham and the team. Things you learn while standing behind David Beckham in the TSA security line at LAX airport. There is no super secret VIP line for Hollywood celebrities and sports stars. Beckham ties his shoes deliberately, placing his feet on the counter one after the other like a sprinter frozen in mid-stride. He doesn't carry a laptop computer, but does travel with a DVD viewer. He likes DVDs of the show Friends. He's kind of slow. Painfully slow, actually. Hey pal, move it! You don't need to take your belt off in this country. Statistics show that 2007 was the second worst year for U.S. commercial air travel in history. Flight delays, lost luggage, cramped seating. Terrible customer service. No matter how you measured it, passengers had more reasons to be angry than ever before. But MLS had its rules. Charter flights were a competitive advantage. And so, a few hours after Beckham's glorious free kick, the Galaxy players arrived at LAX for the first commercial flight of the Beckham experiment. "Everyone has to stay in line," the Continental Airlines agent announced at check-in. "You have to be here 90 minutes prior to departure time." Beckham, it should be noted, checked in at 10:17 a.m., 96 minutes before the 11:53 a.m. departure of Continental Flight 90 to Newark. The guy was never, ever late for an appointment. For months, the Galaxy and Beckham's handlers had planned the details of his flight with the precision of the Secret Service arranging a presidential motorcade. Quote, "The toughest part is getting him through LAX," said Wallace. "Once we put him in the airport lounge and get him on the plane, it shouldn't be a problem." One by one, Beckham and his teammates, all dressed in their Hugo Boss suits, disappeared into the Continental Lounge across from Gate 62. Starstruck travelers barely had enough time to pull out their camera phones before Beckham was gone. But then, slowly, a crowd started gathering outside the door of the Continental Lounge. One man, Fernando Gonzalez, a 30-year-old American Airlines ramp worker from Inglewood, was holding an official Beckham Galaxy jersey with the tag still on. "My wife got it for me yesterday for my birthday," he said. A relative who worked at LAX had tipped him off ahead of time. He was going to get the jersey signed and framed. "I thought he had his own private jet," Gonzalez added. "But it's pretty cool that he's actually flying with the team. The only thing that surprised me yesterday was they had him as captain right away. I don't think that's right, because Donovan is the captain." At 11:51 a.m., the lounge doors opened, Beckham emerged, and after signing some autographs, he was whisked through Gate 62 onto the Boeing 757. If Beckham had to fly commercial, the 757 was at least an ideal plane design, since coach class passengers didn't go through first class on the way to their seats. Just in case, though, Shane, the ultimate fighter bodyguard, really was an ultimate fighter bodyguard, stood sentry next to the flight attendant as everyone boarded the plane, the better to prevent any autograph-seeking interlopers from turning to the left instead of to the right. The Galaxy had purchased 5 first-class seats, which created yet another staging ground for an elaborate display of the team's pecking order. The seating arrangement was Gallup's call, and his choices, made just as carefully as the 11 men he had put on the field for a game, reflected his rep as a player's coach. Beckham and selected veterans, including Donovan and Joe Cannon, sat in first class. Players from the next step down the pay scale took exit row or bulkhead seats in coach, and the rest filled in wherever they could. Gallup himself sat in coach. Halfway through the flight, Donovan and Cannon ventured back into coach for a quick visit, as if they were almost embarrassed to be up front. "Nice exit row," Cannon told me. "You must have some clout." "If I had some clout," came the reply, "I'd be sitting where you are." "You could have sat next to Beckham," Cannon said. "Some random guy took the seat next to him." Beckham stayed in first class the whole time. Everyone else, it seemed, had their feet in 2 colliding worlds, the Walmart world of MLS and the Giorgio Armani world of David Beckham. Most of the Galaxy players still traveled with nylon backpacks bearing the team's logo, which made them look like prep school kids when carrying the backpacks over the shoulders of their designer suits. Then again, nobody was complaining after the coach bus that picked up the team in New Jersey bypassed the exit for the Seacon to Sheraton, descended into the Lincoln Tunnel, and deposited the Galaxy at the door of the historic Waldorf Astoria Hotel in Midtown Manhattan. The players' protest had succeeded. Within hours of returning from Boston and the horror show at the Sheraton Braintree, Gallup had passed the players' wish list on to Wallace, who in turn had spoken to the owner, Tim Wywicki. Quote, "I knew from the moment I talked to our staff and our players that something needed to be done, and it needed to be done quick," said Wallace. "That means upgrading the travel, the hotels, the meals. David's involvement obviously facilitated it, but this was about explaining to Tim what these guys are going through and recognizing this is such an unusual situation." When Beckham spoke, the Galaxy listened. Wywicki signed off on the upgrades, all of them having an AEG significant expense. Beckham and Xavier had 0 problems with the Waldorf, naturally, and for the Galaxy players who dealt with burned pasta sauce, greasy fried chicken, and murderous hotel parking lots, the switch from Sopranos land to Manhattan was a godsend. Quote, "It's a scenario where we're all used to one thing and they're used to another," Martinez said one night to the Waldorf's palatial, tastefully upholstered lobby. "Now flip the tables and we're here where they feel comfortable and we're all smiles. Normally you can't wait to skip the team meal and to go out and eat dinner, but everyone's in the team meal loving dinner. These are the best meals we've ever had."